So today we will see hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a diencephalic structure which lies below the thalamus. It is separated from the thalamus by the hypothalamic sulcus. It forms the anteroinferior wall and the floor of the third ventricle, and it receives more a liberal blood supply than any other structure in the brainstem. So, functional anatomy of hypothalamus. It is a small structure in the brain, lies on each side of the third ventricle. So, weight of hypothalamus is about 10 gram and located below the thalamus, hence is called as hypothalamus. It is an essential component of regulation of many homeostatic functions, visceral functions, behavior, sleep wakefulness, body rhythm and reproductive functions. The hypothalamus consists of a large number of nuclei and the nuclear groups. So, this hypothalamus having the boundaries, the superiorly mainly the hypothalamic sulcus separated from the thalamus. Inferiorly, it is related to the structure in the floor of third ventricle, that is tuber cinereum, infundibulum and the mammillary bodies, which are considered its part. Medially, it forms a part of wall of third ventricle. Laterally, it is contact with the internal capsule. Anteriorly, it is extend up to the anterior commissure and the lamina terminalis, and posteriorly the hypothalamus merges with the ventral thalamus. So, in the diagram you can see the hypothalamus. So, this is the hypothalamus. So, superiorly this is separated from the thalamus by the sulcus, that is hypothalamic sulcus. Inferiorly it is forming the floor of the third ventricle, and this hypothalamus is divided into the four different parts. The first one is the preoptic area. So, this is the preoptic area. Then supraoptic area or nucleus. Third is the infundibulotubular area, and fourth one is this is the mammillary part of the hypothalamus. So, these are the main important regions of hypothalamus, that is preoptic, supraoptic, infundibulotubular tuberal area and the mammillary part. So, we can see here these are the mammillary bodies. This is tuber cinereum. These are the hypophyseal cerebri. So, this hypothalamus is nothing but these are the collection of the many different type of nuclei. So, it consists of four main nuclear groups: the anterior group, medial group, posterior group and lateral group. So, anterior group consists of preoptic nuclei, supraoptic nuclei and paraventricular nuclei. Middle group consists of tuberal nuclei, arcuate nuclei, ventromedial nuclei and dorsomedial nuclei. Posterior group of nuclei are supramammillary, mammillary and posterior hypothalamic nuclei. Lateral group of nuclei are lateral preoptic areas and lateral hypothalamic areas. For the convenience of the description of hypothalamus, it can be divided into the medial to lateral zone, that is the medial zone and the lateral zone. And from anterior to posterior, the hypothalamic nuclear masses are arranged in the preoptic region, supraoptic region, tuberal region and the mammillary region. So these are supraoptic nuclei, you can see here. This is the lateral tuberolar nucleus. This supraoptic nuclei, these are the optic tracts, you can see. So in this diagram you can see the different nuclei, they are arranged on both the sides. The supraoptic nuclei, you can see the fornix. In the center you can see the third ventricle. So this is the third ventricle. On the both the sides there is a dorso medial hypothalamic nucleus, the blue one. Then there is a fornix. Then you can see the lateral hypothalamic areas. Then there is a lateral tuberolar nucleus. Just below the third ventricle you can see arcuate nucleus. Periventricular nucleus is there. This one is the ventromedial nucleus. So all these nuclei are arranged just side of this third ventricle. So you can divide this hypothalamic nuclei from medial to lateral zone or also from anterior to posterior. So from anterior to posterior is preoptic region, supraoptic region, tuberal region and the mammillary region. So in the diagram you can see the zone of hypothalamus and the nuclei within them. So these zones are a mammillary region, tuberal region and the supraoptic region. So in the supraoptic region you can see this ventromedial nuclei, then the the anterior nuclei, these are the supraoptic nuclei, suprachiasmatic nuclei, there is optic chiasma. In the tuberal region you can see the dorsomedial nuclei and the ventromedial nuclei. So these two nuclei are present in the tuberal region. Also the fornix is present in the tuberal region. Then the mammillary region, it consists of the posterior nuclei, tuberomammillary nuclei, the mammillary nuclei, lateral tuberal nuclei and the premammillary nuclei. So these are present in the mammillary region. So these nuclei are classified according to the zone of the hypothalamus, and in each zone there are different nuclei are present. Now what are the connections of hypothalamus? So the fornix is connected with the limbic system reciprocally. Then the medial forebrain bundle, it is connected with the brainstem including reticular formation and the limbic system. So in medial forebrain bundles, the fibers extend throughout the entire lateral hypothalamus and provide the pathway through which the majority of the hypothalamic connections with other regions of the brainstems are established. So it connects the pyriform cortex, that is the uncus of the hippocampus gyrus in the temporal lobe. Also it connects the amygdala with the lateral hypothalamus. So this includes the direct amygdalo-hypothalamic fibers. Then the periventricular system, they reciprocally connects the midbrain and the sensory pathways to the hypothalamus. Then mammillothalamic tracts, they conveys the information from mammillary bodies of hypothalamus to the anterior nucleus of thalamus. Then there is a retinohypothalamic fibers. It carries the visual information from the retina to the suprachiasmatic nucleus of thalamus. So it connects the optic nerve fiber from the optic chiasma with the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Mammulotegmental tract. So it connects the mammillary bodies to the tegmental reticular nuclei of midbrain. Then hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. So it connects the hypothalamus to the pituitary bodies. Then tubero-infundibular tract. Then we have a dorsal noradrenergic bundles. So the ventral anterior bundle and the dorsal posterior bundle. So axons of this noradrenergic secreting neurons projecting from the nucleus of tractus solitarius and the ventrolateral medulla to the paraventricular nuclei of the thalamus. So axons of noradrenergic secreting neurons projects from the locus coeruleus to the dorsal hypothalamus. They are the dorsal posterior bundles. Then serotonergic neurons. The axons of serotonin secreting neurons projecting from dorsal and the other raphe nuclei to the hypothalamus. Then there is a mesolimbic dopaminergic system. So they connects the third ventricle to the medial hypothalamic nuclei and within hypothalamic nuclei. Also there is a cortico-hypothalamic fibers connects the cerebral cortex to hypothalamus. Hypothalamic region outside the blood-brain barrier. These are the organum vasculosum of lamina terminalis and the subcortical organ and the area posterma. So these are the hypothalamic regions which are present outside the blood-brain barrier. So these regions detects changes in osmolarity of blood and regulate blood volume and water intake. So in the diagram you can see the major connections of the hypothalamus. So from neocortex, thalamus, the reciprocal connections are present to the hypothalamus. From the ascending somatosensory pathways, the collaterals are going to the hypothalamus. Also for the visceral centers in the brainstem and the spinal cord, there are the reciprocal connections are present. Hypothalamus gives efferent connections to the neuroendocrine structures and influence on the hypophyseal cerebri. The afferent connections from the visual inputs from the optic tract and optic chiasma are coming to the hypothalamus. Also the olfactory impulses are coming to the hypothalamus, and this hypothalamus is connected again reciprocally with the limbic system. So in this diagram again you can see the afferent connections which are coming to the hypothalamus, and the efferents are the connections which are going out of the hypothalamus. So from the neocortex mainly the afferents are coming to preoptic, paraventricular and the ventromedial nuclei, and it is going efferents are going to neocortex. Then the optic other parts of the limbic system, the afferents are coming to the hypothalamus and they are again going to the other parts of limbic system. So from medial forebrain bundle, then the fornix, the afferent connections are going to the medial nucleus, then the anterior nucleus. From stria terminalis, the afferents are going to the preoptic area and the anterior nucleus. From ventroamygdaloid tract and the medial hypothalamic tract, they are going to arcuate nucleus, and from there the efferents are coming from ventromedial nuclei of hypothalamus. Also, the lateral hypothalamus, the efferents are going to stria terminalis, medial forebrain bundle of the hippocampus, and the ventral pathway to the lateral hypothalamus. From the brain stem, its afferents are going to the hypothalamus and efferents are going to autonomic centers. Also, the afferent connections from mammillary peduncles to the medial nuclei, then the dorsal longitudinal fasciculus, medial forebrain bundles are going to the lateral hypothalamus and preoptic areas. Catecholaminergic pathways are going to supraoptic and the paraventricular nucleus. Then the globus pallidus, the part of basal ganglion, the afferents connection going to the hypothalamus and efferents are going to tegmentum of brain. Also, there is a pallido-hypothalamic fibers. The afferents are coming from this tract to the hypothalamus and the efferents are going to mammulotegmental tracts. The afferent connections from the thalamus is going to the hypothalamus and again it is reciprocally connected to the thalamus. So, these are the thalamo-hypothalamic fibers. From the retina, the fibers are going again to the hypothalamus and then to the pituitary gland. These are the retinohypothalamic fibers. So, mainly they are relay into the supraoptic, paraventricular and the arcuate nucleus of hypothalamus. From there, the efferents are going to hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, that is posterior pituitary, and the tubero-infundibular tract, that is from the hypothalamus the efferents are going to anterior pituitary. So, these are the connections of hypothalamus. So, you can see in the diagram the efferent connections of hypothalamus. So, the fibers are going to this anterior nucleus, then the fibers will go to this posterior longitudinal fasciculi through this mammulotegmental tract, then the tubero-infundibular tract. The efferents will go into the anterior pituitary. From the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, fibers are going to the posterior pituitary. This is the arcuate nucleus. These are the supraoptic nucleus. This is the paraventricular nucleus. So, from all these nuclei, the efferents are going to the different part of the brain. So, here the neural and the vascular connections of hypothalamus with the posterior and the anterior pituitary gland. So, this is the paraventricular nucleus here, and there is the arcuate nucleus and the supraoptic nucleus. So, from this paraventricular, supraoptic and the arcuate nucleus, these tracts, hypophyseal tracts, they are coming and they are going to the posterior pituitary gland. Also, you can see the now the vascular connections. This is the superior hypophyseal artery from the hypothalamus. It is going to the anterior adenohypophysis, anterior pituitary, and it forms the connection here. So, this tubero-infundibular tract, that is a tubero-hypophyseal tract. So, it consists of the fibers arising from arcuate nuclei of the tuberal region of hypothalamus and they extend in the median eminence and the infundibular stem where the fibers come in close contact with capillary flexus of hypophyseal portal system. The neurons of this hypothalamic nuclei synthesize certain releasing and inhibiting factors which are conveyed to membrane bound vesicles by the tubulo-infundibular tract. to the hypophyseal portal vessels. So these hormones are carried by the portal vessels to the anterior pituitary, that is the adenohypophysis. So where they regulate the secretion of anterior pituitary hormones. In the posterior pituitary, mainly the hormones are vasopressin and oxytocin. These are synthesized in the hypothalamus from the supraoptic, paraventricular and arcuate nucleus, and they are secreted in the posterior pituitary and they are stored into the posterior pituitary. Now the functions of hypothalamus. So first function is the autonomic functions. The Sherrington described the hypothalamus as a head ganglion of autonomic nervous system. So anterior hypothalamus is the parasympathetic area. It has an excitatory effect on the system. The posterior hypothalamus is the sympathetic area and has an excitatory effect on this posterior hypothalamus. So this autonomic functions is carried out by a cardiovascular regulation. So hypothalamus regulates the cardiovascular system through the cardiovascular control in the reticular regions of the medulla and the pons. So stimulation of posterior and the lateral nuclei of hypothalamus increases the heart rate and the arterial blood pressure and produce the cutaneous vasoconstriction. Stimulation of preoptic area decrease the heart rate and the arterial blood pressure and produce cutaneous vasodilatation. Also under the autonomic functions, hypothalamus regulates the pupillary size. The stimulation of posterior and lateral hypothalamus causes dilatation of pupil, while the stimulation of anterior and the medial part of preoptic and the supraoptic area produce constriction of pupil. Also, hypothalamus regulates the peristaltic and the secretomotor functions of alimentary tract. So, posterior and lateral hypothalamus diminish the secretion and the motility of gastrointestinal tracts, whereas the stimulation of anterior and the medial hypothalamus increase the peristalsis and secretomotor functions of alimentary tract. Now, the endocrinal functions. So, control of anterior pituitary by secreting the certain releasing and inhibitory hormones which reach the anterior pituitary by the neurovascular link through the tuberoinfundibular tract and the hypophyseal portal vessels. So they controls the metabolism by controlling the thyroid glands, influence over the adrenal cortex, control the metabolism of different foodstuffs and maintain electrolyte balance. And hypothalamus keeps the gonad inhibited till the physical growth is complete. So after physical growth is complete, this inhibition is removed so that the gland can start the functioning and gametes are produce the gonadal hormones. So control the formation of milk by the breast by controlling the prolactin secretion. Also under the endocrinal functions, the hypothalamus controls the posterior pituitary gland. So neural control of posterior pituitary with the secretion of antidiuretic hormone by the supraoptic and the paraventricular nuclei helps in the regulation of water balance by controlling water excretion by the kidney. Also it helps the regulation of uterine contractility and the regulation of milk ejection from the breast. So mainly here the function of paraventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus causes its cells to secrete the hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin increases the contractility of uterus. It also contracts the myoepithelial cell that surround the alveoli of breast and cause milk ejection. Hypothalamus also helps in the regulation of sleep-wakeful cycle. So the anterior hypothalamus is considered a sleep facilitatory center and its stimulation lead to a sleep, whereas posterior hypothalamus acts as a waking center and its stimulation lead to wakefulness. Hypothalamus also controls the circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm refer to a rhythmic fluctuation in a certain physiological parameters of the body. These are called as circadian rhythm and this shows a 24-hour cycle. So these homeostatic regulatory mechanisms in this rhythmic cycle are the rhythmic secretion of adrenocorticotropic hormone, rhythmic secretion of growth hormone, rhythmic secretion of melatonin, and the sleep-wake cycles. So what is the basis of the circadian rhythm? The circadian rhythm are internally driven. The suprachiasmatic nuclei of hypothalamus is the main site of most of the circadian rhythm in the body. So this is called as a biological clock which regulate the circadian rhythm according to the 24-hour light dark cycle, and it is having the suprachiasmatic nuclei is receives the information from the eyes via retina hypothalamic fibers and the lateral geniculate nuclei, and this nuclei suprachiasmatic nuclei help in the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is affected by the environmental factors. So what is the physiological significance of the circadian rhythm? So it enables the homeostatic mechanism to be utilized immediately and automatically. So there is a rhythm in the urinary excretion of the ACTH. The circadian rhythm have an effect on body's resistance to various drugs. The difference in the sensitivity of doses of a potentially lethal drugs depends markedly on the time the drug is given. So you may get the disturbances of circadian rhythm. So you can give the example of a high speed jet travel. So one may travel several thousand kilometers within a few hours. So as a result, the traveler's external clock, day or night, does not coincide with the internal biological clock. So that is, the body may be in rest night phase while it is the daytime in the country of destination. So it results in the irritability, mental depression, or even physical illness. The symptoms subsides in a few days, and this condition is called as jet lag. Hypothalamus is having the important function in the regulation of food intake. The regulation of food intake is an essential vegetative function of the hypothalamus which maintains the body weight of an individual relatively constant over a long period. So to regulate the food intake, hypothalamus has two centers, that is a feeding center and a satiety center, and both are located in the tuberal region. So feeding center is a lateral hypothalamic nucleus. So this is stimulated in the animals, creates a sensation of hunger and leads to increase in food intake, that is hyperphagy. This causes the obesity. The destruction of feeding center lead to loss of appetite, that is anorexia. So feeding center is always active and it's actively is inhibited by the satiety center after the food intake. So the satiety is the opposite to that of hunger, and the ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus acts as a satiety center. Stimulation of this center in the animal causes sensation of food intake, and a destruction of the satiety center will lead to hyperphagia. The principal hypothalamic polypeptides, neuropeptides Y, orexin A or orexin B, melanin concentrating hormones, that is MCH, increases the food intake, whereas alpha MSH, cocaine and amphetamine regulated transcripts, and corticotropic releasing hormone decreases the food intake. Hypothalamus is also having the role in the regulation of sexual behavior and reproduction. So in the animals, the hypothalamus plays an important role in maintaining the sexual function, especially in females. A decorticate female animal will have regular oestrous cycle provided by the hypothalamus is intact. The pathway of sex regulation is a amygdala, stria terminalis, preoptic area, and the tuberal region of hypothalamus. Also, hypothalamus having an important role in the emotions and the instinctual behavior. So the emotional and the instinctual behavior is mainly regulated by the limbic cortex. The hypothalamus along with the limbic cortex is concerned with Affective nature of sensory impulses, whether the sensation are pleasant or unpleasant. So these affective qualities are also called as a reward or a punishment. So reward center is located along the course of medial forebrain bundle, especially in lateral and ventromedial nucleus of thalamus. Electrical stimulation of these areas encourage the animal to seek more of such a stimulation. And the punishment center is located in the medial hypothalamus. The electrical stimulation of this area will lead to pain, fear, defense, escape reaction and the other elements of punishment. So, the experimental animal will avoid the further stimulation of this area. This hypothalamus is having a role in the regulation of body temperature. So, hypothalamus acts as a principal integrating center for heat regulation by adjusting the balance between heat production and heat loss, and it helps to maintain the body temperature at 37 degrees centigrade. So, anterior hypothalamus and especially the preoptic area is a heat loss center. The posterior hypothalamus is a heat gain center. So this heat loss center, how it acts? By increasing the activity of temperature sensitive neurons, which result in cutaneous vasodilatation and increased sweating and causing the more heat loss. So it is the function of anterior hypothalamus, mainly preoptic area. This hypothalamus is having the main important role in regulation of water balance. So hypothalamus regulates the water balance by through the thirst center by controlling water intake and through osmoreceptors in the supraoptic nucleus by controlling water loss. So the thirst center is located in the lateral nucleus of hypothalamus. This thirst center is located in the lateral nucleus of hypothalamus, is stimulated by plasma hypertonicity. So this causes the intense desire for water and animal drinks a large quantities of water. So discrete lesion of this thirst center abolish the fluid intake and animal will die because of dehydration. Electrical stimulation of this area in conscious animals cause the animal to drink water as long as the stimulation continue. Injection of hypertonic saline in this area induce the animal to drink large amount of water. Through the osmoreceptors in the supraoptic nucleus, the increased plasma osmolarity also stimulate these osmoreceptors in the supraoptic nucleus. The stimulated neurons of supraoptic nucleus send the impulses to the posterior pituitary gland to secrete ADH. This hormone reaches the kidney tubules through the blood and causes increased absorption of water from the collecting ducts of the kidney. Thus, water loss is decreased. When the body has excess water, exactly opposite get occurs. So, in this way, through the thirst centers and the osmoreceptors in the supraoptic nucleus, they help in the regulate the water. So, through osmoreceptors, ADH will be secreted and there is a more and more reabsorption of water, decrease urinary water and the normal water body get restored. Via the thirst centers, there is an increase intake of water intake of the patient and that will lead to the normal restoration of water. If there is a lesions of hypothalamus, so it includes the tumors or there is inflammation of the hypothalamus, mainly will get in the encephalitis or the ischemia due to vascular disorders or a damage due to surgical operation of the hypothalamus in this area. So because of these lesions, the hypothalamus, you will get the disturbances in the autonomic functions, disturbances of body temperature regulation, The sleep disturbances due to lesion in the mammillary body and the anterior hypothalamus. Endocrine abnormalities, for example hypogonadism and the hypothyroidism. Also the lesion of hypothalamus will lead to disturbances in sexual function due to the involvement of mid-hypothalamus, disturbances of body water balance due to damage of the supraoptic nucleus or the infundibular sac characterized by the excessive thirst and the polyuria. There is emotional disturbances leading to shame rage due to lesions in the ventromedial and the posterolateral part of hypothalamus. The clinical conditions in the hypothalamic lesions, you will get diabetic insipidus. It is occur due to deficiency of antidiuretic hormone occurring in the tumor or a shame lesion of the anterior hypothalamus in which supraoptic nuclei are damaged. So, it is characterized by excessive thirst and polydipsia. Patient may develop the narcolepsy. So, it is a hypothalamic disorder with abnormal sleep pattern. Patient gets sudden attack of unresistible desire of sleep during the daytime. The duration of sleep is usually short, from few seconds to about 20 minutes. Then patient may develop the cataplexy. The cataplexy refer to sudden emotional outburst of anger, fear or excitement associated with the narcolepsy. This attack lasts for few minutes and the consciousness is not lost. So, these all are the clinical conditions you will get whenever there is a hypothalamic lesion. So, all these are about the hypothalamus.